In the age of AI, most companies still think that online visibility has to do with ranking for keywords on Google search. I can tell you right now that that world is coming to an end. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still essential to be visible on Google search, but the percentage of the traffic, the percentage of bottom funnel buyers, real buyers that you get from Google search are going to be less and less in the next 12 to 24 months. And you can already see some examples of this. If you go to Google and search for anything, you're going to see the Gen AI results show up. And that Gen AI is at the top of Google search. For example, you can search for something like, should I do business with Zen Media? And Gen AI will decide if you should or if you should not. So right now, AI models decide who gets featured, who gets recommended, who gets cited, and who gets the authority. AI models decide who gets ignored. So if you are not mentioned on these AI models, you're invisible. This video will show you exactly how AI visibility works and why companies pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to agencies to make them more visible. So, visibility has moved from searches on Google to prompts on AI where people are having conversations and asking for very specific suggestions. Narrative, authority, clarity, authenticity. These are the 4 levels that help you get into these AI models. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, even LinkedIn's own feed determine which brands get visibility and which brands do not. Remember, ChatGPT is just one of the models, and majority of these models operate in a similar fashion. The shift is the fact that you are not mentioned in one of 10 blue links anymore like you were on Google search. You are mentioned on 1 to 3 direct answers on these LLMs, on these AI models. And people call this different names. They call it answer engine optimization. They call it AI visibility. We call it the prompt index here at Zen Media. It really doesn't matter what you call it. There is a process that you need to follow to actually show up and be the answer in these AI models. Now, let's talk about why majority of these brands, and some of these brands are big companies with thousands of employees, are invisible on AI search. These companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars, they have the authority, they have the budgets, they have the client base, they have everything, but they are not really that visible on AI. Why is that? Number 1, AI models tend to hallucinate a lot. So if your authority and your authenticity is weak online, especially on your website, which means that you've spent so much money on PR and visibility and features here and there, and that visibility is not translated onto your own properties, which is your website, your www.com, you are not going to get that much visibility because you're not giving AI the structure that it needs. There's a specific schema that AI is looking for. There's a specific frequently asked questions, the Q&As that you might have, the service pages, how you are solving problems for your clients, the case studies, the testimonials. This is what AI is looking for, but it's also looking for all of this information in a very structured format. So the technical infrastructure of your website and how your content hierarchy, how your content pillars are structured makes a huge difference. So if you're spending millions of dollars on digital marketing, but you don't have a narrative structure, you don't have a lot of earned media, you don't have a structured content hierarchy on your website, and you are not constantly communicating about the cool things that you're doing in your business, the problems you're solving, the case studies, etc., you are not going to be that visible on AI. And if your SEO team is working hard on content, but is just doing it for keywords, and if those keywords that your SEO team is targeting are not a part of this cohesive identity, AI models will still ignore you. And then perhaps you have a PR team and they are working very hard to get you features and mentions on different publications, but if there is no content pillars that you're targeting with very specific angles, and if there is no mention of your website, or if there is no connection between that entity or that media outlet and your website, AI models are not going to feature you. So this is the problem. Most agencies fix pieces of the visibility. They don't actually address your entire marketing, your branding ecosystem. And that's where the main gap is. It's not that you're not doing content. It's not that you're not doing PR. It's not that you're not spending the money. It is basically the order that you execute all of those tasks and for what purpose. Think about this as you're cooking your favorite dish, or if you're simply making an omelet. You put some butter first or some oil, right? Because you don't want the ingredients to stick to the pan. And then you put in, let's say you're making a veggie omelet, you put the vegetables, you stir fry it a little bit, right? And then you break the eggs on top. The order that it's done makes the difference. If you just have a pan that's hot and if you just break the egg, like the eggs are gonna burn, right? Because you put no oil. So that is exactly what's happening here. Majority of companies don't know the order, don't strategize beforehand. They don't really know their ICP, their ideal customer profile, or their super consumer profiles anymore. And they don't follow the levels of awareness stages in marketing. They target everybody with the same message. We're the best, our prices are great, this is what we're focusing on, and that's about it. And you need to have a narrative for AI to feature you. You need to have a specific process. You need to have very structured content and objectives. So you might ask, all right, how does AI decide to recommend a brand or not recommend a brand? One is your narrative strength. You have to have a very clear message in what your value proposition is, and that message needs to be tied to the levels of awareness stages of every single service or product that you have. And on top of all of that, you have to have overabundance of proof that you should be the company that your target audience should be doing business with. How do you do that? Through testimonials, through reviews, through partnerships. Two, that comes along with one is actually entity clarity. Who is your ICP? Who is your super consumer profile? You can't target everybody. You have to have a very specific audience that you're targeting. Now, the more clear you are, who are those people? How old are they? What do they love? What kind of food do they eat? What are the competitors that they might be doing business with? What problems are they trying to solve? Where are they looking for value? What do they really care about? What makes them tick? You have to know all the answers to these questions. Three is reputational signals across the web. Reputational signal means any outside entity that actually mentions you and the authority of that entity. Let's say CNN mentions you, or Inc.com or Forbes.com mentions you. That's valuable, right? But if the audience is not targeted, meaning it's just a high-level generic mention, that doesn't really help. We always look for very specific, content pillar-specific mentions. Four is topical authority consistency, meaning you can't just do one article or one blog post or one press release or one mention and just say, I'm going to rank. You can't do that. We have now what we call a 28-day news cycle. And there's a reason for this. A lot of C-levels and founders and even marketers don't understand the 28-day news cycle. Here is what that means. You need to be on the news with a newsworthy content every 28 days. And the reason for that is the following. Let's take ChatGPT, for example. 95% of ChatGPT users are not paid users. They're not pro users. They're free users. And when you're on a free version of ChatGPT, you are simply not connected online that often, meaning ChatGPT prefers to give you responses from its memory. And we see from our prompts, we run millions of prompts on a monthly basis. The prompts are the new keywords, right? It's what somebody is looking for. They're not typing in keywords. They're not typing in digital marketing agency, right? They're typing something much more specific. They're typing like, who is the best digital marketing agency if I own and operate 3 hotels. That's a prompt. Digital marketing agency is a keyword, so people are doing more prompts. So we run millions of prompts, and from our data, we see that these 95% of users that are free users, when they ask a question or when they prompt ChatGPT, ChatGPT is not connecting them online, which means it's not serving fresh results by searching online. As a brand, for you, what this means is that if you are not in the memory of AI, you're not getting mentioned. So topical authority consistency means that you have to consistently be there. 5-10 years ago, we would just write a blog post for Google, and we would rank for hundreds of keywords, and it would continue to rank for a few years. That's not the case with AI. You have to be constantly updating the content, doing press releases, getting a new mention, getting a new feature. You have to be on there to maintain your authority. And 5 is human-validated media trust. That means, first, the media that actually mentions you, features you. Second, it means the social media conversations, the community conversations. Who is mentioning your brand on Reddit? Who is talking about you on social media? Who is retweeting your tweets? Who are commenting on LinkedIn posts? This is very important because AI looks at all of that. AI has API integrations to all social media tools. So the conversation behind your brand is very, very important. So the prompt index that we came up with literally monitors millions of prompts on a monthly basis, and we have the power to segment these prompts and see, on average, maybe 100 to 150 brands are mentioned for each prompt. We get to see who is moving and who is ranking. We can also monitor the intent of the prompt. We can monitor the narrative of the brands that show up. We can monitor the persona that it's targeting. Is it targeting the end user? Is it targeting a CMO, a CFO, a CEO? Is it targeting directors of marketing? So you can get a lot more surgical with the type of targeting that you can do. After doing millions of prompts and looking at all of this data, we realized a very specific pattern for AI to make a selection on which brands to feature. We call it the AI selection behavior. 1, distinctive brands get recommended, meaning the more hyper-focused you are in your ICP and your super consumer profile, the more specific your solution is, or your offer or your value proposition is, you're going to get mentioned. With that in mind, generic brands get left out. If you are targeting everything, if you're trying to sell everything, you will not get featured. Now, of course, if you're a Salesforce, or if you are an Apple, or if you are a Microsoft, you'll get featured. But PR is not why they're being mentioned. It's basically their customer base. They have a very specific tech infrastructure that millions of people are using. So that's one of the reasons there's a lot of conversation flowing, and AI prefers that conversation. But if you're a smaller brand, let's say $10 million to $100 million, and if your approach is very generic, you're invisible. And 3, these AI models trust consistency and relevancy, which means that you have to, again, consistently be there with updated information, new perspectives, and you have to be relevant, meaning it has to be very specific. Your content needs to be very specific to your ICP or to your super consumer profile. This is why one of the first things that we do when we execute a project is we'll do a 1,000 prompt index, meaning we'll pick your top 1,000 prompts and we'll look at your visibility and where you have strengths and weaknesses. And then the second thing that we do is we nail down those content pillars, and how we nail down the content pillars are directly related to your ideal customer profile and your super consumer profile. The AI visibility reports that we run on a monthly basis give us very detailed information on which brands are dominating categories, subcategories, and which brands are lagging, even though they are bigger competitors. For example, we did a 10,000 prompt audit for a global CX firm. They operate in, I think, 30 different countries and 4 different continents, and their visibility was less than 10%. And this is a $1 billion corporation. Once we implemented our process, they were being recommended for their top categories globally. And it only took us, I think, like 90 days to get them featured because they had the base authority. We just needed to make the right connections, target the right type of content, restructure their website so that the schema was visible to AI in a structured format again, and we had to slightly adjust their keyword hierarchy, their content hierarchy, their content pillars. I always give this example. I could find the cure to cancer today, and tomorrow nobody would know about it. I could scream, I could do press releases, I could do content, I could do mentions, right? It would take me 12 months to 24 months just for anybody to believe me. I would have to build that up. So the fact that you have an insane technology, the fact that you have an insane product or service, doesn't matter. You have to get the proof of concept. And that's what a lot of brands do not realize. This authority, this trust needs to be built and maintained. If I just start screaming, I have the cure to cancer, nobody will believe me. Why not? Because people buy and make decisions with very, very specific perspectives. They have to be given a new perspective to believe you. How do they believe you? Reviews, testimonials. They're literally going to go to Google, they're going to go to ChatGPT, and they're going to say, should I do business with this brand? Should I do business with this company? Why not? So you have to be absolutely sure that your reputation, that your authority, that your narrative is the right narrative that you want to portray to your end user. And that is exactly what we did for this global CX brand. We basically put the pieces together. They had their own content team, own PR team. We didn't do PR for them. We didn't do content for them. We just did the AI overlay. And we connected everything together. And another example is we took a B2B tech company and we made their CEO the leader in that specific category, in that specific narrative. So AI was recommending their CEO for digital transformation, leadership, and thought leadership in that specific subcategory. And how did we do that? Again, they had a ton of PR. We took everything, we translated or we transferred that exact authority to their website, and we did all the connections and all the schema, and we looked at the intent and the persona of the searches that were important for them based on their super consumer profile, and we just put the missing pieces together. And when you do this, here are the different areas that you're affecting in your business. You are optimizing the inbound pipeline, meaning you get more inbound, and this is not only coming from ChatGPT, because a lot of people will have conversations with ChatGPT. ChatGPT will mention the brand, they'll take that brand and they'll put it into Google, believe it or not. Millions of people are still using Google. They're not using it the way they used to use it. So we still need to have our properties in check on Google. That's not going anywhere. And a lot of B2B buyers are doing this before they sign that contract. So how is your audience any different? And as a matter of fact, the smarter your ICP, the smarter your super consumer profile is, the more likely that they're going to do that last check. So this helps with sales enablement. 3 is deal acceleration. It shortens the life cycle of your sales cycle. How? Well, they are getting to that decision-making point with one conversation instead of looking at 7 different sources. How did somebody buy 3-5 years ago? They would look at your Google reviews, they would look at your Reddit, they had to go back to your Clutch reviews perhaps, your G2 reviews if you're selling a software, right? Your Facebook reviews or the testimonials on your website, and they would ask to speak with 3 referrals. Now, all of that can be done with AI. Just say, should I do business with this company? And AI will literally look at everything and give you a suggestion based on that. And Google started doing this about 6 months ago, actually. If you say, should I work with Zen Media? The Gen AI will give you an answer. And higher trust. If the machine is suggesting your brand, it's game over. You are the ideal result. You are the ideal answer. Nobody's going to argue against that. So this AI visibility system, how do we do it at Zen Media? Let me break it down for you. First, we run the AI visibility audit. Now I can do this with 100 prompts at a high level. I can do it with 1,000 prompts. I can do it with 10,000 prompts. I can do it with 100,000 or 1 million prompts. It really depends on what level of complexity you want to go into, how you want to categorize the intent, are you going after informational, commercial, buy intent, comparison intent? And then we come to the persona, what the persona looks like. Who is your ideal customer profile? Who's your super consumer profile? Are you only targeting chief marketing officers? Are you only targeting chief technology officers? Or maybe you're targeting the average Joe. From these prompts, we create a competitive landscape, a competitive index, meaning who is in the market, who is being featured more, and who is basically beating you and who is behind you. We have to get a baseline first to determine what the next steps should be. And from this information, we get the entity alignment gaps. Like, as an entity, what is your core message? What is the core value? How does that relate to ICP? How does that break down into the levels of awareness stages? Are they unaware? Are they problem aware, solution aware, product aware, or most aware? It all makes a huge difference of what stage your buyers are at and what message are they being nurtured with. Phase 2 is the narrative and identity engineering. Once I determine in phase 1 all of these gaps, next step is to really nail down what the narrative looks like. I need to develop a CEO point of view, for example. CEO or CFO, whomever is the spokesperson in your organization, needs to have content out there on LinkedIn, on social. I need somebody to be able to feature, somebody to be able to cite. I need to build clarity pillars. What is the content pillars that are very clear, that represent your brand? Where is the differentiation point from all of your competitors? What is one thing that you do better than everybody else? Phase 3 is the media footprint acceleration. We need to have very firm executive profiles, and that has to do with the LinkedIns, the social proof, the Reddit pages, and we need that narrative in terms of really communicating and portraying the brand identity to the machine as well as to your end users. We then couple that with the earned media. We need to get very specific content pillars, and we need to get media presence. Now, media presence could be featured articles, mentions on very targeted, high-level media outlets, as well as Gen AI approved or Gen AI specific press releases. The most important thing here is to create category stories. Remember, people really don't buy your brand. They buy the story behind that brand. They buy the story behind how you helped your customers, your end users, your clients. What problems did you solve for them? How effective were you in solving those problems? Did those solutions last? What is your value proposition? What is the core offer that you have? And we have to give your potential buyers, your ideal customer profile, your super consumer profile, different perspectives of why they should choose to do business with you. And that is the most difficult thing when it comes to AI visibility, is that you're training the machine in terms of these different perspectives, and you have to do a lot of tests because you don't know which one is most valuable. You kind of have an idea, so testing is very essential during that process. This is why we run millions of prompts on a monthly basis, because the beautiful thing is you can see how that moves the needle with literally one feature, one blog post, one case study, one buying guide is enough for you to track that movement after 28 days because of the 28-day news cycle. We could literally, sometimes we just do one press release, Gen AI press release, and we get 50, 60 different prompt results that feature the brand that we're working with. It's very doable. Then that brings us into category 4, which is the answer engine content optimization. We need to have answer first content on SEO and PR. For that, I need to know what your ideal customer profile is looking for. Which problems are they trying to solve? What questions are they asking? And what level are they at the levels of awareness stages? Answer engine optimization is not the only aspect of this. You still have to have your nurture funnels. You still have to have very powerful B2B newsletters. You still have to have a very, very powerful retargeting strategy. You have to be top of mind. AI is just only one channel, but AI is the channel. that determines it all. Based on this content, you have to have multi-format distribution, which means that you have to have the blog posts, the buying guides, the narrative, the testimonials, the reviews. You have to have the schema-friendly content for AI, and the social media mentions, the LinkedIn posts, and it all has to come together. And when you have all of this together, the social dominance and the content and everything really plays well together, I can do AI specific content drops, which means I already know what people are kind of searching for and who is visible for that and why they are visible for that. Once I have that information, I can literally write very specific content and just drop it into AI, and AI will pick it up because I already identified those gaps. Phase 5 is reinforcement through PR, SEO, and content. This is very important because now that I've built the foundation, I have to make sure that the right metrics touch the right execution models. We do the monthly reinforcement, which means that we have to be in that 28-day news cycle with our execution. We have to monitor multiple AI models. We call that the pulse check across models. I have to look at ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini. I have to make sure that everything is moving in the right direction. The beautiful part is once you address one AI model, it's pretty straightforward to really influence the other AI models. I have to expand the visibility, basically expand the content pillars as I hit different categories of content pillars, and I have to lock in the visibility for that category, for that subcategory. So with AI visibility, you absolutely dominate one subcategory before moving to other one, or before you go one level up. So as Zen Media, I'm not going to just dominate digital marketing agency, right? I have to be very specific about that for my own brands as well. With Zen Media, for example, the first one that I have to dominate is B2B PR agency, B2B PR. Now, once I get B2B PR, I might jump into B2B content or B2B social or B2B SEO or B2B marketing. Once I dominate B2B, maybe then I can jump one level up and try to rank for digital marketing agency, but that's still tough. So find that category that's your bread and butter. This is why we say we're not an SEO agency, we're not really an AI visibility agency, we are a visibility infrastructure agency. And with about 100 employees, we can address the right angles, the right channels, to give you the visibility that you require. And the only way that we can do that, again, is we have, I think, 4 full-time AI engineers. We have to be in this business. You know, it used to be software as a service that was very hot, which is SaaS. Now we actually call it service as a software, meaning I have to have a very powerful service and I have to have all of these proprietary solutions that lay underneath as software. And that's what makes my service valuable. So think about your own business. What is a layer of tech or a layer of software or a layer of perhaps know-how or SOPs or processes that you have where your service sits on top? And once you nail all of this down, there is a real business implication of all of this, a real business effect. You're going to have better buyers entering your funnel. You're not going to have unqualified potential buyers because you've already vetted it, you've already nurtured it, you've built the process for it. You're going to have shorter sales cycles, which is key because you're already addressing the concerns with your content because you're showing up on AI and you've already addressed all of those, buying objections, so that the sales cycle is shorter because they'll come to you when they have decided to do business with you. You have a stronger brand trust. You are less reliant on ads because your organic is powerful. You will have increased thought leadership authority, meaning your CEO, your CMO, your CTO, we have created that persona, we have created that angle to really push them up in terms of thought leaders. And most importantly, you have category ownership. You own that subcategory or that category if you are the top visible individual for those prompts on AI. And we know this because we get direct leads at Zen Media and Optimum Sub. And when we have conversations, people tell us, I found you on ChatGPT, ChatGPT referred you. And with the clients that we work with, we hear that very often now. Most recently, I had this conversation with a CEO of a B2B brand, and he basically said, on a weekly basis, I probably have 3 conversations where people are telling me that they found me on ChatGPT or that ChatGPT referred us. That's exactly what you want for your brand. So let's talk about why CEOs and founders and C-levels are preferring to target AI visibility instead of traditional marketing now. PR without AI visibility or answer engine optimization, it simply does not index. It's there if you link somebody or if you say, hey, I got featured here, I got featured there, but it's not going to index. It doesn't really have value. It doesn't link back to your brand on your website to really pass on that authority to you. SEO without PR lacks the authority layer, right? You can write all the content that you want, but if you cannot get an authority signal that goes back to that specific article, your SEO rankings are going to be limited. This is why it still works. Backlinks, powerful backlinks still work, but they're very limited in terms of how are you going to get a backlink from a Forbes feature? How are you going to get a backlink from a Huffington Post feature, right? And those are getting less and less effective. Google AI actually prefers the narrative, the solutions, and this is why they're pushing their Gen AI hard as well. This is why they put their Gen AI on the top of Google search results, because they are trying to compete with ChatGPT and Claude. Your content without narrative will get ignored. If you don't have the story, if you don't have the narrative around that content, and you're just kind of writing to rank for it, and you're not adding the complexities, the details, the intricacies of why you do what you do and how you do it better than anybody else, and really dig in, I would say less than 5% of businesses do content like this. They don't really translate what problems they're solving and why they are doing what they do. The why is very important, not the how. Big agencies, they deliver content, they don't deliver conviction. Meaning, you want to work with a partner that understands the intricacies of your business, why you are doing this, why you are passionate about this. We have a process where we actually call and talk to the clients of our clients. We talk to the customers of our clients, and we understand why do you want to buy from company X? Why have you been doing business with them for 20 years? If we can get to the crust of that, then we want to tell that story. We want to write that content. That's what people buy. So you need a system that hits every layer of modern visibility. This is the only way to move forward. You can't just do SEO, you can't just do PR, you can't just do content, you can't just do social, you can't just do paid, you have to do all of it in a structured format. And what we do again is we lay down that AI visibility layer. With all of this being said, if you want to see where your brand ranks, if you want to see what the baseline is, we're happy to run a 100 prompt audit. If you want to go one step up, we're happy to run 1,000 prompt audit for you. It's a bit more detailed. You have to go through like 90 pages of a report to see how your ideal customer profile, your super consumer profile is broken down into the persona and the intent of every single prompt, every single detail, every single crust of your offering. We can run this report for you. You can go to zenmedia.com/1000 prompts and request this, or just write to me directly. Remember, visibility used to be SEO, PR, and content. Now it's AI. And if you are early, only if you are early, you could dominate this space for the next 5 years while everybody else is still asleep.